Hello and welcome. This is NTA Tuesday Live. I'm Cyril Stober. Now, every January 15th is marked as the Armed Forces Celebration and Remembrance Day, a day set aside to celebrate fallen heroes who died in the line of duty, as well as those still in service. This year, it again affords the military hierarchy the opportunity to solidify the unwavering commitment and heroism demonstrated by its personnel for Nigerians. It's also an avenue to reflect on the sacrifices by fallen heroes who gave their today for our tomorrow while defending the territorial integrity of the nation. Our armed forces labor to protect the territorial integrity of Nigeria, whether on land, air, or sea. Tonight, NTA Tuesday Live will focus on sacrifice for nation building, what role for citizens. But before the conversation, let's see this background report put together by correspondent Olajide Bello.
In the heart of Nigeria's history lies a legacy of valor, courage, and sacrifice that few truly understand. A legacy built by men and women who, in the face of unimaginable hardships, fought to unite a country divided by ethnic, religious, and political tensions. These were the war veterans whose blood was shed and whose spirits were tested in the crucible of conflicts. Men like Major General Murtala Mohammed, who later became the head of state, fought with a determination to preserve Nigeria's unity, and there were countless others whose names may not be as widely known, but their sacrifices were felt deeply by the nation. They battled in dense jungles, crossed treacherous terrains, and faced the constant threat of death. The supreme price was paid by those who never returned, leaving a gap in the national consciousness that would never be filled. Veterans returned to a society that had been scarred by war. The wounds of the past were not just physical, but psychological. Yet, the Nigerian military continued to play an essential role in nation building, seeking to stabilize the country amidst coup, civil unrest, and economic crisis. Over the decades, the Nigerian military has been called upon for peacekeeping missions in Liberia to internal security operations against insurgencies. The Nigerian armed forces have become a symbol of resilience, fighting not only external enemies, but also internal threats that challenge the fabric of the nation. The struggle has never been easy, and the military's involvement in civilian life has sparked debates, yet no one can deny the courage and commitment of those who serve. The men and women in uniform continue to pay the supreme price, confronting insurgencies like Boko Haram, ethnic violence, and a host of other challenges that threaten Nigeria's stability. They fight not just for military victories, but for peace, for the dream of a united and prosperous Nigeria. As we reflect on the sacrifices made by war veterans, the stability they sought to bring to the country is a continuous endeavor, one that requires the collective effort of every Nigerian. The military may not always be in the headlines, but their work, carried out in silence and often at great personal cost, remains the backbone of the nation's ongoing struggle for peace and unity. In the end, the true price of war is not just measured in lives lost, but in the perseverance of a nation to move forward, to heal, and to create a future where unity, peace, and progress are not just ideals, but realities for every Nigerian. And in that effort, the legacy of the veterans lives on.
That report sets the tone for tonight's discussion. Let's start off by introducing our guests. I'd like to welcome to this program General Abdul Malik Jibril, the National Chairman of the Nigerian Legion. Thanks for being here with us.
Thank you, Mr. Cyril. A pleasure.
Let me also welcome to this program Dr. Mainasara Umar Kogo, lawyer, economist, and public affairs commentator. Thanks for being with us tonight.
Thank you very much. I'm glad to be here.
Then, of course, we also like to welcome Dr. Chimele Eze. Chimele Eze is a doctor of medicine and global healthcare ambassador, an advocate for WHO universal health coverage. Doc, thanks for being here with us.
Thank you very much, Sir Cyril. It's an honor to be here.
Right. Well, as usual, at some point in time, the program gets interactive. It means you can join the conversation in the studio. We'll acquaint you or remind you of the process and procedure at that time. But first, let's get into the business of looking at sacrifice for nation building and what citizens can do and what role they actually have to play. And easily at a time like this, the military comes into focus as they play a crucial role in nation building and stability through various forms of sacrifice and contributions. But let's begin with the chairman of the Nigerian Legion to assess for us these contributions that have been made in the past and continue to be made even today and will be made tomorrow.
Well, thank you very much, Cyril. As I rightly pointed out, sacrifice by members of the armed forces has been since the inception of this country, even before the independence of Nigeria. Nigerian soldiers have participated in so many campaigns under the colonial regimes. And that is the starting point for making supreme sacrifices by our soldiers. And through the independence, and immediately after, like the First and Second World War, all under colonial regimes, parents, grandparents were drafted against their wish. They have no option, they went, even though on return. That set the tone for struggle for independence in some areas. But even after the First and Second World War, Nigerian troops have participated in other peacekeeping operations and during Congo. And of course, the unfortunate civil war of Nigeria in 1967, which lasted for 30 months, and that is where we had the greatest casualties of our soldiers trying to keep this country united. So in terms of sacrifices, the Nigerian soldier has been sacrificing since before inception of the country as an independent nation, and all through to the present time, that sacrifice has persisted and is ongoing, and is everywhere to see, for everybody to see. And unfortunately, the Nigerian soldier, immediately he is out of the scene, to a greater majority of citizens tend to forget such sacrifice. And that's what informed the government to think of a day to celebrate and commemorate those who have sacrificed and made full sacrifice, and also to remember with joy the day the civil war of Nigeria ended in January 15, 1970. So that is the nutshell, the background for the kind of sacrifice that the Nigerian soldier has been making and is still making. And as the program continues,
Right.
I would elaborate and also exemplify some the role that we are playing, so much that we are almost being brought to the first line of defense, which shouldn't be.
Well, Dr. Nasaraku, let's come to you, and we stand the focus on the military, for instance, even though generally we'll be focusing on sacrifice and what citizens can do. But these citizens who proudly don on the uniform and step out to, if necessary, lay down their lives for the nation. Let's start off with them and the kinds of sacrifices they make.
Yes, the history of Nigeria, whether pre-independent Nigeria or after independence Nigeria, cannot be written without stipulation of the sacrifice made by members of the armed forces. As a matter of fact, if you are talking about the struggle for the independence of Nigeria from the British colonialism, you have to attribute it to the gallantry of the members of the armed forces. They were the ones taken from our colonial countries to serve as the multinational contingents under the banner of the British forces that assisted in the defeat of the Nazi forces in both the First and the Second World War. As a matter of fact, it was immediately after the Second World War that movements for the liberation of colonial countries began. And we saw efforts by a number of nationalists because the members of the armed forces had become the pathfinders, paving the way for it to be peaceful for the civil populace to come after them to be demanding for independence. The demand for independence succeeded, and at the end, the professionalism, the disposition of patriotism and nationalism of the members of the armed forces came into force in such a way that they did not interfere in the democratic processes of the handover of independence to Nigeria, among other nations. And immediately after that time, we saw a situation whereby the members of the armed forces were as well taken to different parts of the globe, entrenching from professionalism, the zeal and the gallantry with which to fight for restoration of peace and civility in different parts of the world. In the Congo Republic, for example, the decolonization of Southern Africa, the Liberia, and so many other places, even recently you talk of Sudan and other places, Nigerian contingents ended up becoming the number one to be reckoned with. But the fundamental thing was that between 1967 to 1970, precisely the war that ended January 15, 1970, which we lost over 3 million lives, kudos must be given to the gallantry of the members of the armed forces for bringing about national cohesion, and national peace and national stability in declaring the whole episode as no winner, no vanquished. In the interest of common brotherhood, in the interest of eschewing violence, to embrace one another. And then we continued. All the developmental indices you will see in the country, over 70% of them were entrenched by the military administrations, all trying to bring about policies and programs for national cohesion, programs like the Green Revolution, the National Youth Service Corps, program like additional states creation, road constructions, railway construction, universities, many these things that time will not allow us to mention. But the most fundamental one that we should even put into cognizance now is the fact that from 1999 to date, if there will be any institution that will be cherished and be respected for demonstration of patriotism, discipline, and nationalism, it is the Nigeria's armed forces. The Nigeria's armed forces, if you look at the Constitution carefully, they are the number one respecters of Section 15, subsection 1, that talks about the motto of the Federal Republic of Nigeria: unity and faith, peace and progress. Now, you cannot be united, you cannot be faithful with one another when there is no peace. As a matter of fact, even the progress cannot even be there. And the members of the armed forces decided to safeguard the democratic experiment from 1999 to date, especially protecting the sanctity of Section 14, subsection 1, that says sovereignty belongs to the people. And that is the reason why they decided to come to the forefront in championing the fight against all forms of criminalities in Nigeria, especially the contemporary insecurity challenges we are seeing, which if you look at the Constitution under Section 214 to 216, is paradoxically the responsibility of the members of the Nigerian police. But the members of the armed forces have taken it up, because when you take sections 217 to 219, it says, where it seems difficult for the police to contend, members of the armed forces can be invited to come and partake. And you can see the excellence with which they are neutralizing all forms of criminalities and insecurities in the country. So it is really a high time we celebrate. Members of the civil populace should appreciate the gallantry, the disposition of patriotism, nationalism, discipline, and statesmanship that we are seeing in our members of the armed forces, by giving them support, by giving them cooperation. Because even the Constitution, when you take sections 14, when you take sections 24, 23, and 21, it denotes a compulsory responsibility on the civil populace to marry their zeal and patriotism with members of the armed forces by giving them support in all nooks and corners, in all spheres of demands for assistance. The citizens are supposed to embrace what the Nigerian armed forces are doing, so that at the end of it, they should realize that it is for their own end benefit that members of the armed forces are crossing over their lives. So many of them have become, especially the women, have become orphans. Some of them have become widows. Some of them have become distant. Yet they are ever prepared, ever determined. I think it is high time we reflect, but even the government, not only the citizens, should come on board and see to the repositioning of the members of the armed forces to the correct pedestal they deserve by improving their welfare. Improving their number too is another fundamental thing, because the challenges are too enormous for their number, which is just about 500,000, to contend with a population of 230-something million Nigerians.
Okay. Thanks, Robert. Putting that in perspective. And, well, we come to Dr. Eze now. And, well, for very good reason, where we have seen, for those who did not pay the supreme sacrifice in the armed forces, they're either maimed, life-changing situations. They are within society here. And for those, a constant reminder of what could be.
Very good. The armed forces are a living testament to sacrifice. They put their lives in the line for us to have peace. And if one says that they decrease for us to increase, that person is not mistaken. Their bravery on the battlefield have safeguarded our borders. Their constant efforts in peacekeeping have also offered us the pleasurable privilege of being recognized worldwide. They ain't doing this for fame or favor, or what we call fortune, but it's a commitment to a greater cause. I give them their flowers, and I will do that noon and night without mincing words. Their effort in national building is not just about warfare. They contribute in providing relief during natural disaster. They also contribute immensely in national development projects and serving this particular country with heart full of dedication, selflessness, as it concerns stabilizing peace in different communities in Nigeria. As we continue, we would continue to burnish out examples of the selflessness, dedication, courage of the Nigerian armed forces. And this is worthy of emulation for citizens to recognize that there are people who put their lives for us to experience the peace we experience today. It will also offer the citizens the opportunity to be well-meaning. I will leave it at this. As we continue, we'll continue to build on that.
All right, thank you so very much. And We see the military as part of the extended Nigerian society, and it's just but a part of the society itself. And Nigerians from all callings have also shown a lot of commitment and sacrificed a lot in contributing to development. I mean, through their various fields, either through sports, through their professions, and some have excelled not for their own benefit, but for giving the nation the kind of status which Nigeria should have. And easily would remember people like the late Colonel Abu Ali, Dr. Stella Dadevo, who at the point of when COVID was to make its infamous entry into this country, she stood firm as one of the medical profession, and in the long run took her life. In the field of sports, we had people who committed their talents to representing Nigeria. Here I would recall easily people like Sam Okwaraji and so many others who at one point in time, through what they engaged in, either as been in their professions or otherwise, have also gone out there to put Nigeria first. And so the question here is, what happens to the larger society? And at what point do we begin to see these people as icons who Nigerians generally should emulate and put country first? Because that seems to be one of the biggest issues we're dealing with today.
Absolutely. Thank you, Mr. Seru. You see, sacrifices and contribution in national building is all-encompassing, and it is not the preserve of one particular set of people in a society. It covers everybody. It depends on what line of speciality you are. You can also make the ultimate sacrifice in that. So you can categorize sacrifices. If you take the example of our national heroes, the founding fathers of these countries, in their own right, individually, they contributed the struggle in the process. They could have lost their lives. Some of them, as a matter of fact, also lost their lives. So they also contributed, they also made a sacrifice to build this country, or to project the image of Nigeria. So it depends on how you look at it. But if maybe your question is to compare and assess the level of sacrifice, which one is greater, where do you always have? There are some that you can say they are only incidental. Mm-hmm. There are some that are consequential. There are some that you actually deliberately sign off. You know what is going to likely fall onto you. And that is the military. That's what makes the difference. Mm-hmm. The military, when you sign off to join the military, you sign off your life.
You know exactly what you're getting into.
You know exactly what you
what might
so
happen.
It's a question of a game of chance. If you go, you may or may not come back. And that is what makes the difference. So if you look at, somebody will say that perhaps that the military are crazy. Who is only a crazy person that will go and sign off his life. He said that I'm ready to die for a common purpose. And that is to keep the country one, or to protect my citizens. And that is why you can categorize level of sacrifices and commitment. But there are some, whether you like it or not, you must give it a higher point. And that is the kind of sacrifice the military man makes. And that's not to say that his life is greater than any other's life, no. But the commitment, right, as we are seated here, our soldiers are outside right now. in so many areas of operation, some are going to bed now while this is the time they are picking up their kids to go out for patrol. And they may or may not come back. So that is, it's like, if you like, you can call it, maybe it's an adventure for some of them. But the sacrifice is enormous, and it is worthy of note by everybody in any given society.
Dr. Benasara, the nations honor their veterans, and they put in a lot for them to ensure that they have at least some form of recognition, some form of life even after service, and they're regarded by the citizens. Somehow it's not exactly the same around here, and yes, a lot's been done, but there are those who would say, look, we need to go a step beyond that, that it's not even a government thing. It should be the citizens recognizing one who has put his or her life in danger to ensure that the nation remains one. You wouldn't even need the statute to declare that they be recognized, but ordinarily citizens would recognize these contributions and show gestures for them, you think?
Yes. The first two things we should understand is that no nation can be secured better than the quality of its security apparatus. And the quality of the armed forces of any country is determined by the degree and quantum of the interest the political class at that particular time has in the security generally. So, and when you take section 14, subsection 2 of the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, it says that security and welfare of the citizens remains the primary responsibility of government. So if security and welfare of the citizens remain the primary responsibility, and when you just oppose it with sections 214 to 219 that talks about national security and defense, then the number one priority the government should give is adequacy of welfare and infrastructural quality of the arms and ammunition or the equipments the members of the armed forces should use. In a situation whereby you are exposing them to monumental possibilities of death, let me use the ultimate word, vis-a-vis deliberate or indeliberate disbursements of the technological sophistication needed at every contemporary time. For example, the magnitude of the security challenges they are facing demands that whatever weaponry they would be given should be something much far, far superior than that. This is as well as training, as well as welfare, as well as many other things. Now, the citizenry need to be educated too for them to understand that when you are talking about government, they are the number one stakeholders of the government. Because like I said earlier on under section 14, subsection 1, sovereignty belongs to the people. Whatever the government is doing is the reflection of the interest and aspirations of the people there. Therefore, organized civil society groups needs to come in and partake with the government. Just in tandem with sections 21, 23, and 24 of the Constitution, organized international groups needs to come in, including the respective governmental apparatus. I must commend some state governors, I don't want to go into mentioning names, that are assisting very, very seriously the members of the security forces operating within the domains of their states. They are assisting very well, that is highly commendable. But the communities, the societies, civil society groups, social cultural organizations and bodies need to equally come in. It is when they come in and partake, then they are entrenching stake in what members of the armed forces or members of the police or whatever security institution is doing. And it is fundamental for them, before they do that, they should be sensitized to appreciate that all they are doing is in their own interest, because the number one responsibility of every security officer is protection of the sanctity of lives, peace and liberty of the citizenry. They decided deliberately to derogate their own enjoyment for you to enjoy your own superior over and above them. So we need to really use this particular period to remember. A fortnight ago or 3-4 weeks ago, I saw some veterans in front of the Ministry of Finance raising placards and other things that they have unpaid benefits and this. That shouldn't happen. Nigeria has a very, very serious fundamental international role to discharge. The leader of the black world and the champion of Africa in all respects. So whatever Nigeria does is more or less a calibrating stick to determine the quality of the regard and the maintenance of the armed forces we're having within the African shores and indeed the black world. So in that context, members of the National Assembly should come into assistance for in terms of appropriations of adequacy of money needed. But for them to do that, the proposal should come from the members of the armed forces too. The members of the armed forces are more concerned than fancy things or things that will keep repeating in the budgetary estimates, like computers, supporting and welfare facilities, to the detriment of investigating and finding out the most sophisticated, technologically enriched equipments to be used. Then they should be the ones to blame themselves. It is your responsibility to bring proposals, and it is our responsibility to amplify the need for members of the National Assembly to as well approve. And at the same time, too, we should tickle the executives to ensure appropriate release of the appropriations made by the members of the National Assembly. Members of the armed forces should really take a very serious critical assessment of their demands and needs, and on the basis of which the government should be able to do this. No government, whether at the level of the National Assembly or the President, can appropriate anything higher than what you have presented before the government of the day as your own interested amount.
Dr. Eze, let me put it this way. You know, earlier on we had General Abdul Malik Jibril described, said in the line of sacrifice, some of it can be incidental. We drew attention to people in other fields. For instance, the doctor who saw that Ebola was going to be a big threat to Nigeria's existence and then put herself forward in the line of being a medical practitioner. At a point, you would not have said, well, I'll be confronted by someone carrying a disease such as Ebola, and I would stand between that person and spread it in the wider society. Same thing, medical personnel who put themselves forward to help in, in stemming the pandemic of COVID when it came in. But in the case of the military, it's a deliberate, it's not incidental in this case. The point you begin to sign up, you know that at any point in time, you can be called up and can be deployed. And you would have no excuse. You would go. You know, that is what you're signing up for. So when you make such a sacrifice, and then at the end of it all, you step out, and you're beginning to have to worry about your welfare in terms of your health care, and some of them having gone through the trauma of war. Do they get the adequate health care that's needed? Do we do that? Especially at the lower rungs. You know, because the top echelon, the hierarchy, could be said to be in a good stead to take care of themselves. But we're talking about people who are in the lower cadre.
Incidentally, heroism or sacrifices could be incidental or consequential. But what matters most is that national building requires what we call the CXD: courage, selflessness, and dedication, no matter your specialty. What matters is you understanding that I am expected to be courageous in the face of threats. I'm expected to be selfless, to decrease for the nation to increase. And one should also know that it also borders on dedication. These hallmarks of dedications could vary from one specialty to the other. In the field of medicine, we usually say one thing: we shall live for others. That's why you see a doctor not sleeping in his house for 1 week, trying to increase or decrease for other people to increase, adding values to the health of people. The same thing was actually seen when she put her life. No matter what Ebola would do to me, I should be a health warrior. I am considered an essential worker who should shoot that Ebola against a citizen of Nigeria. No matter how it would affect me, I just want to live for the country and become an exemplar for what it should be. In the military, for example, their own could involve signing off their lives in papers. But in the field of medicine, it's already what should be forbidden in the mind. It might not be signed off. Relatively, it's not expected to be weighed where it is more sacrificial. What matters is that in nation building, every person, no matter your field, you should be courageous. You should ensure that you're selfless and then dedicated to the service to humanity. Interestingly, when the veterans who would have served the country, being the protectors of our sovereignty and keepers of our lives, adding values to everything that we do, making sure that we are here whilst every other environment around us is safeguarded. It's now quite a pity that their lives would not be added onto when they're aging. And that's where we come in, ensuring that there should be strategic direction, strategic plans on or strategic objectives that would work for them. Not just talking about these strategic plans, but converting it to work plan. That is what matters, because over the years we've heard, okay, they should do this, they should do that. And most times, the work plans will be deficit.
Right.
So what one reasons is that there should be establishment, or we should be establishing a multi-sector collaborations where different people from different fields of life, think of the government bodies, think of the NGOs, think of public, private companies coming together, pulling resources and expertise for them, ensuring that we would always bring those things that would make their lives more valuable, more meaningful, especially as they're aging. Okay. Secondly, one could also talk about what we call the integrated, service platform, where we would develop a platform, all the stakeholders would gather and enable these veterans to access information on services that are being provided by veterans, by stakeholders. Because most times, the stakeholders might make provisions, like you said, and then people at the top will be the only ones to enjoy it. But if all the veterans can access information on services being provided, that would work at its best. It could come in form of website or maybe anything, but let it be easy for them to access. Right. Then one can also reason out that regular stakeholders meetings could also be very, very important, where the stakeholders and veterans would come together. They can share updates, they can also discuss challenges, and then, most importantly, plan on collaborative initiatives, okay? Then, finally speaking, I am also of opinion that it's high time that the armed forces would demand of Ministry of Veterans Affairs, like it is seen in other countries of the world. That would also enable them to tackle a lot of challenges, ordinarily that they wouldn't have done in singleton. So I think I will leave it at this. But sacrifices at nation building would always require courage, selflessness, and dedication, no matter the field.
All right, in addition to our conversation in the studio, we also have a number of reports. I would take this one from Lagos.
One nation building is selfless sacrifice, and the Nigerian Armed Forces since independence in 1960 has been doing this by being the bedrock of the unity of the nation. Apart from protecting the territorial integrity, tackling internal security challenges has been part of the integral part of their daily routine.
It's a thing of joy when you look back that you have served your father's land. It's always a thing of joy that you have made a great sacrifice to serve your father's land. And our father's land is this great nation, Nigeria.
For Nigerians, these sacrifices has not gone unnoticed.
Their effort they are putting in to fight the insurgents and the insecurity in Nigeria is well commendable.
They are really serving this nation a lot. They fight for us. They want to do them well.
Government is doing its own possible best to make sure they are being remembered. Virtually every year, they lay rest on their destiny, and then the entire country remember them, and at the same time giving something to the family of the fallen heroes. So I think on that aspect, I can say they are doing their best.
The consensus is for relevant authorities to do more for the war veterans so as to encourage more Nigerians to contribute to nation building. In Lagos, Joel Bukbola.
Our next report is from Kaduna.
In the continued fight against enemies of peace across various theaters of operations for a collective aspiration and national development is their sacrifice for nation building as Nigerian war veterans that have united every front of the country in service for motherland. To better tell the story, I visited the residence of retired Master Warrant Officer Yusuf Usman of the Nigerian Air Force, a veteran who served during the Civil War. Reminiscing on the dangerous terrain and hard to reach areas they had to cross with precision, all in service to motherland, many had lost their lives, some incapacitated for life. Though retired but not tired, he says, he acknowledges the federal government and the Chief of Air Staff, Air Marshal Hassan Abubakar, for integrating and caring for the veterans.
Present problem that is on about health, about widows, you could always hear allocation of money. Not long, the vice president's wife allocated a lot of money for widows. But this thing ended up within a small circle to be looked into, and for us to see that these anomalies, if not panel beaten, we certainly will be on the streets.
Retired Master Warrant Officer Usman Aliu was an army instructor, an ECOMOG and Bakassi Peninsula internal security hero with many laurels. Recalls joining the army 27 regular corps with 3,000 others, with more than half of them losing their lives in active service, leaving their families behind. Just like the thousands of veterans across the country, they believe and advocate for the Veterans Federation of Nigeria as an umbrella body that will intercede between the veterans and the government, among other gains. Say, the recent protest by the coalition of the concerned veterans rekindles the need for the government to critically look into the plight of veterans towards making their lives better.
Wanted to have come up and stand on Veteran Federation of Nigeria as it is all over the world. During that unification, representative came from United States, Britain, gave lecture, all the good and whatever that should be, were all discussed. It is now, I'm made to understand that it has gone first reading, but then there's some snag in it. That lacuna in it, we were demanding democratically all the people there should be elected, not appointed.
It's about sacrifice and about what you can offer. You can't give somebody who doesn't have interest of veterans position to hold. I've never seen where protesting to get your benefit become illegal. To the glory of God, we have a lot of generals that came in solidarity. They brought refreshment to us in form of solidarity.
But the Armed Forces Remembrance Day, few hours from now, they are...
Well, we have lost part of that report there with the basics has been established. And when you watch reports like that and you hear interviews like that, what crosses your mind? where, just as I was raising up, these were master warrant officers, not in the officer cadre, and you would hear stories of them queuing up in front of establishments, asking for entitlements, and then a matter which was raised by one of them there, their widows, their families. What goes through your mind when you think about that?
Well, it's really unfortunate. Anybody who made such sacrifice to his motherland should not be allowed to go to the street to demand his right. Unfortunately, some of the issues raised, maybe one can blame it on bureaucracy. Bureaucracy in the sense, most of these benefits, let me pick the particular incidents of some of the veterans that picketed the Ministry of Finance, and in the past they have even blocked the Ministry of Defense. I would say I'm also a beneficiary of anything the government gives. So it's not like I'm excluded because I'm chairman of Nigerian. No, I'm not. If they went onto the street and as a result, they are able, it is only then when government will listen to them and make good what has been promised to them. Is unfortunate. But I will say it's not always the case like that. And quite a number of the veterans who do not share this opinion with me will certainly say, oh, it's because perhaps I'm the chairman of the Legion. Not. That's not because, that's not the reason. The reason is that I believe by our training, by our background, discipline, there is a better way that we can pursue some of this right. And it's not when a right has been approved for you. And I say the bureaucracy is what those people actually went to the street to fight. That something has been approved for them and it's not been released. While they filter, they heard that some of their colleagues in the within the civil society have been given the same benefit, and they are waiting until probably on the street. So that's the psyche that they have, that perhaps somebody doesn't want to give until they do what they did. But if you are standing on the path of rationality, one would say, for example, if I give a side example of the last but one blockade at the Ministry of Finance, it was while they were there that alert started coming. 2 days blockade, and then they started having. It is not true that it was because of that they were giving, the money started coming in, because the process has been there. Okay. Sometimes it's impatience. But that's not to say that they don't have right to express whatever they feel they ought to have been given and they are not given. They have the right, but I think that there's a way that one should pursue that right. That's just the situation.
Dr. Manasara, let's step into the larger society now, just a little away from the armed forces and the citizens generally, and having the mindset of sacrificing for your nation. And sometimes you look and see, what is the kind of reward system you see for those who labor, who give their best to society? And you hear this all the time, that those are the ones who are hardly ever recognized or celebrated or considered, while others who have not contributed the fraction of that, either by way of dedication, as Dr. Eze said, showing the kinds of, attitude that exalts the nation. Those are the ones that are recognized. And this, a lot of people would say, is what makes people think twice before giving their all to their nation. And say, well, I might do this, but in the long run, what do I get out of it?
I quite agree with your submission, and I will attribute it to loss of the heritage of our values. Before the independence, our people were almost worshipping the colonialists. Immediately after independence, those foremost statesmen that fought for the independence of Nigeria were at their various jurisdictional levels almost being worshipped by people. It was like that because the political system, the economic system, the social system, and even the educational system were such that were designed in building statesmanship. The system was that a leader considered himself as vicegerent of God, as representative of God, to aspire followership by good moral standing. It was not about material accumulation or aggrandizement then, but it was about the zeal for giving a good name long after you are alive. If you look at all those that struggled for Nigeria's independence and the statesmen of the First Republic up to the Second Republic, greater number of them died indebted. But because of the good name they left, their families never get humiliated on the want of food, shelter, money, or any other thing. As of that time, when you happen to return from service as an ex-serviceman, people will be thinking that there is special blessing even just touching you like that.
Absolutely.
They revert you because of the value of the sacrifice you went and dispensed on behalf of the people. You have brought good name, fame, goodwill for the citizenry and for the country. Before you know it, the shenanigans of the elites brought about materialism over and above even fear of God. People started going into crazy, unnecessary, kleptonic accumulation of even what they don't need. You will see one person richer than the whole of his state. You will see somebody coming to Abuja in a taxi after 4 years because of some privileged opportunities he has gotten. He will be one of the prestigious owners of private jets. Or somebody coming to be squatting in Oga Cyril's boys' quarters. When he gets the opportunity, before you know it, the I have made it syndrome will be there, and he will be one of the prestigious owners of assorted estates in Asokoro, Metama, or Lekki Peninsula. And then people there at the lower level started to forget about the originality. They will be hailing him whenever he's there. When he's looking for their votes or for their patronage in whatever form, he will go there and sit down with them, take tuwo, kuli, fura, nono, and danwache together with them. But the moment he got sworn into office, the kind zoom with which his well-protected bulletproof vehicle will come and zoom. The only sign they will know that Mr. Somebody is there, maybe is the number of houses that will be emerged with new color of brown dust. I'm telling you. So we now turn in the situation whereby people are looking at leadership as instruments to make it, rather than a trust, like I said earlier on, to be representative of Almighty God. The citizens too have decided to join the bandwagon instead of them to be checkmating. But the privilege of periodic elections, they now turn out to be, it's only in Nigeria, all over the world, on election day, you will see somebody hoisting green leaf on his head that he is for sale. You give him 500 naira, 200 naira, 1,000 naira at most, then which he will end up finishing it and excreting it out before the evening of that day. And he will keep lamenting for the next 4 years, insulting whosoever is in power of authority, forgetting that he mortgaged his own sovereignty by going about little money rather than entrenching his decision. So long we don't evolve social, political, economic, educational, and general relationship we are having in the country in line with our own original history. Unfortunately, until now, history was even eliminated in our curriculum. History, the culture, the character, the costumes, and the traditions of our originality. We have to bring back all those values in tandem with sections 21, 23, and 24 of the Constitution. For us, so long we continue copying, even the democracy we are talking about is a model for West European countries that are having different culture than Nigeria, different traditions, different customs, and that is the reason why we operate things in theory, which has a very wide bridge of reality in practice. We have all the good assembly of laws, we have every entrenchment of structural arrangements in our constitution, but practically speaking, greater number of our own functionaries are even ignorant in the practical sense of what they are even swearing with. You swear somebody with the Constitution, out to the time he will do his 4 years and finish, he will not be able to even master even the preamble to the Constitution, talk less of the decision. And then we continue to be masquerading them as those are our leaders, revering them simply because of what we stand to get, not what they stand to give the society better. So we have to go back to drawing board, return back our lost values, values of statesmanship, value of seeing anybody as common from the same source of common brotherhood. Everybody from Adam and Eve, irrespective of whatever is your tribe, whatever is your religion, whatever is your culture, whatever is your costume, whatever is your tradition, whatever is your trade and profession, you should believe that the life you are having is just given to you as a borrowed gift by God, and you will be accountable to it. And so long we fail to instill that fear of God in the minds of those governing us, and in the minds of even the followers, because they are the ones responsible for voting in and voting out. So long we decided to abandon that one and then embrace our heart with the marriage to materialism, then so long we will never get it right, and we will continue to be lamenting, and there will be difficulty in getting any remedy. Because whosoever is coming to institutionalize any remedy, whether he is in the legislature, executive, or judiciary, will first of all be thinking of what are those things he will introduce that will not, invalidate the juicy enjoyment he is enjoying in the contemporary days. So long we will continue to do this. So it is a call for general reorientation. However, which the National Orientation Agency is here with us. They are the ones that are supposed to take the banner of national reorientation over and above any other institution. But governmental functionaries of contemporary days have to show by example. If you don't show by example, a fish gets rotten from the head, it will be difficult for you to have followership better than the quality of the standards or the projected vision and mission of the leadership. And we will continue to be lamenting without going anywhere.
Right. Well, at this point, we'll take a short break. When we return, the conversation will continue, and how best the citizen can contribute to nation building and sacrifice. We'll continue with the conversation shortly, and hopefully at that time the lines will be open and you can join in the conversation. But stay with us on NTA Tuesday Live. We'll be back shortly.
the Atlantic across the savannah to the Sahara. We rise, a land of the free, we know they tire. We dream great, our spirit is undying.
Resilient, rooted like palm tree. We sway in colors, we stand back in demand. We bet solutions, we ignite passion, yeah. Each ethnicity is unique, we have more than destination.
We are Nigeria, strengthening unity. We know they carry lives. We are Nigeria, together live the dream of a land with great destiny. We are Nigeria.
I am the real Nigerian. Brought to you by the National Orientation Agency, NOA.
The federal government of Nigeria warns vandals of national assets, electricity transmission towers, cables, and other facilities to desist from this act of sabotage. Vandalism is a serious crime punishable under the law. Vandalizing electrical equipment will affect millions of Nigerians, including your loved ones. Remember that national assets belong to all of us, hence the need to protect them. Report all cases of suspicious movement around electrical facilities to security agencies. When you see something, say something. This message is from the Federal Ministry of Information and National Orientation in collaboration with the National Counter-Terrorism Center, NCTC, Office of the National Security Advisor.
NTA Tuesday Live, a network issue-oriented innovation talk show.
Thanks for staying with us, and this is a segment where we open the phone lines and you can join in the conversation. The numbers to call will be on your screen. We ask that you take advantage of those numbers. Call in with a question or comment. Our guests here would be willing to address whatever issues you might raise. And as we say all the time, you're calling in, keep it short and simple. Don't bother too much about the greetings. A simple hello would do. And we ask that you stay the course, and so we can all have a robust conversation and look at the issues from various angles. So welcome to this segment of it. We'll start off with another of our reports, this one from Enugu.
With burdened hearts, that widows of departed soldiers narrate their ordeal after the demise of their husbands. Some have little children left for them to cater for. According to them, life has totally changed, posing a threat to their very existence.
Coupled with the economic situation of the country now, how things have been escalating in the market, how everything is so high, it has never been easy. It's not easy, honestly.
It has been God's grace all His while, because we cannot just leave the children not to become nuisance to the society. No, we are still putting effort to make sure that our plans that we had before we got married and when we got the children, that we execute it.
The Nigerian Legion on its path is challenged with the wherewithal of catering for those left behind and aged veterans who can do little for themselves.
One thing that is outstanding about the whole thing is making sure that those who serve the nation are retired meritoriously, that they get their entitlements. Those who are no longer there, this program also help to create awareness, and then our people understand and continue to remember and honor them.
We thank the government for what they are doing, but there is so much room for improvement. There are many entitlements that are owed legionnaires, retirees, that are yet to be paid by the government.
However, the state government has done a lot in shouldering some responsibilities for the vulnerable widows. Some of them testify to the goodwill of Enugu State government and its interventions.
The previous governments, even the recent one, he did a lot for us. He gave us food palliatives, which took us for a long while. He really tried for the widows.
Amongst us, the widows, we have those that have acquired skills. There are those that have businesses already. There are those who are graduates. There are those who are learned amongst us. So we want not only government, we need even NGOs, private organizations that they should come in and help us. They can even give us grants. We have responsible widows amongst us.
As we commemorate the sacrifice of our fallen heroes, the Nigerian Legion is grateful to government at all levels, but like Oliver Twist, would like some more. In Enugu, Chiegonu Aro.
Dr. Eze, why not?
All right. So, having listened to this report from different parts of Nigeria, especially that of Enugu, it suggested that a law has been put in place by the government of the state, both the present and the past. And people actually shared in that testimony and testament. But just like the last statement of that report says, that they continue to request for more, just like Oliver Twist.
Yeah, that's why not?
I am not actually in any way going to differ. So for me, I think that the government at different levels should be more engaging. Policymakers should be inclusive in all forms of it. And individuals should understand the concept of volunteerism. They should volunteer, encouraging one another, encouraging themselves to get closest to these people who ensure that we live to advance, to make it to the level that we would get to our rightful destination. And when we get there, the next people that we should always think about would be them. They are without which we can't get there. Because without global peace, without community peace, no one can ever get to his rightful destination. Again, I would also encourage the NGOs to come on board. Like the report suggested, that there are a lot of educated people amongst these widows. So one would reason out that if by giving them palliatives over and over again would not bring about impact, because there is a difference between outcome and impact. Outcome, yeah, we have cooked rice and beans and it's done, so this is rice and beans. But impact is, what does it actually give to the body? What energy currency, what calories, what could be sustainable, what could be measurable? So I would suggest that we would continue to look at how we can empower them to ensure that they can fend for themselves and transfer this sustenance to their children. And I also want to believe that grants could also be a very good one, starting businesses for them, where individual patriotic Nigerians, patriotic individuals would come together, pool resources, expertise, to ensure that these our widows would cry no more. And they would stand, on a height days or years later, discussing to the younger widows that, yeah, there is hope. And it also, trickles to the hope that is given to people who are in service. If they are left uncared for, uncatered for, it's going to deter the morale, the efficiency of the officers who are serving. Because their wives will keep on demoralizing them, telling them that in due time, are you sure that I will be cared for? And that will go a long way, affecting the mental, psychological well-being of this soldier. And at the end of the day, decreasing his performance, productivity, and that would also decrease the nation building.
Okay. We have a first caller online, Aliu calling in from Abuja. Hello, Aliu. Go ahead. Aliu, are you there?
Yeah, good evening, sir.
Good evening. Go ahead, please.
Hello.
Go ahead, Aliu.
Yes, I'm there.
Go ahead.
Good evening, sir.
Good evening.
Yes, I want to contribute to the issue of the military. If you look at the military entirely, it is those, the rank and file, that have been suffering without being catered for. Some of them, if they die in the war, and they will leave their families, and their families will be suffering. The children will be suffering. Nothing for them. What they do pay to them is just a little stipend. While the generals who have been enjoying themselves in the office, in their under air condition, are the people collecting bulk of money. Recently, the federal government said they are going to pay them a package, the generals, the package for them, while the other ranks will suffer. There will be $20,000 for medical, they will be given bulletproof cars and the rest, while others are suffering. It is not done in any other civilized nation. And recently, they have been struggling. In fact, demonstrating they have to go on
their courage,
on
the growing efficacy
some of their entitlements
of coordinated military
This is the third time they are going on protest.
The House
from
remains
last year to now.
steadfast in supporting these efforts.
So the issue
through
of
legislative
saying
measures
they are going
that
to,
enhance
they have to cater for
security
everybody
frameworks and
from top
address
to down.
emerging
Whatever you have
threats.
done to generals, you do it to the other ones because they are the ones doing the job. They are the people suffering. The generals will not sleep with them in the bush there. They will sleep in their houses while others are suffering there. And now you want to give them bulletproof cars, you want to give them $20,000, you want to do everything for them,
offer of automatic
while they will be
scholarship
sleeping in their own houses, and the real soldiers are suffering in the bush.
and tertiary education.
They don't sleep with their, for some of them for good 6 months, they don't see their families.
So that this will motivate
So the government should better wake up and do the right thing. If whatever they do, whatever is good for the goose is good for the gander.
Okay, thank you so much.
Recently, the Nigerian Legion, for donkey years, even before I was born, Nigerian Legion are just there. They are just collecting money every year for armed forces remembrance. It's for themselves.
Okay.
It does not benefit any soldier.
Okay, Aliyu.
It does not. They are the people pocketing the money. All the money they made in the sale,
All right, Aliyu,
the emblems.
thank you. You've made your point. And
that is why
yeah, thank you so much, Aliyu. You've made the point. And of course, the National Chairman of the Nigerian Legion is here. He would respond to the issues you have just raised, General.
Thank you very much, Cyril. Well, the Aliyu certainly is, he must be ignorant of certain issues. What is alluded to the recent signing of the harmonized terms and conditions of service for both officers and soldiers. And in any society, in any military all over the world, you don't pay a corporal, a private, the same with a general. You don't pay even a private the same salary with a last corporal. You don't pay a last corporal the same salary with a corporal, and so on and so forth. So that differential in terms of responsibility and what do you call it, responsibilities is shared according to the level of responsibility that you also shoulder. So the recent harmonized terms and conditions of service is not only for the officers, as he's trying to allude. It affects everybody in the military. If you are a private, if you go down, you check, your salary has been affected positively in accordance to what you are earning. So that's how. And the medical evacuation given under the terms and conditions of service, it is there even before this harmonized terms and conditions. But general have not. I have never enjoyed it even once. So it's not like that because it has been mentioned that I'm going to get, for example. And in any case, as I said, you don't have the same salary structure all along the line. If I am a Major General, the person just next to me, a Brigadier General, does not earn the same salary with me. So if you're working any benefit, it is in proportion to whatever your salary is. So it's not like there's nowhere you can lump everybody on the same. So we have to be rational. This inability to rationalize situations is what actually pushes people to jump into conclusion. He was trying to allude to the Nigerian Legion collecting money every year. For the 60 years Nigerian Legion has existed, it has never been
the Minister of State for Health and Social Welfare, Dr.
Isiaq an effective, with due respect to my predecessors,
of healthcare in
60 years ago,
capable of easing the burden of medical tourism and providing affordable world-class medical services.
That association as a Major General. The person I took over from was a Brigadier General. Before him, the highest was a Colonel. And all this within the last maybe 10 to 15 years.
We continue to support you.
Before then, it was the junior rank of our colleagues that are at ANI. So, and what are the problems of the Nigerian Legion?
Assuring him that the National Assembly,
the collection that we do every year, it is to me, it's demeaning. We don't even need to go cap in hand begging. We have also advocated that let the Legion be put on national budget so that we will be able to affect other associations, and then we'll be able to also carry the responsibilities that are mandated under the Act.
Okay, let me ask you to hold on a while. You still speak on the matter because it's an allegation that you made that all the money collected by the Legion is for the officers. But we'll ask you to speak more on that. We just want to take in this call. Dr. Bukar, who's calling in from Abuja here. Let's hear you.
Yeah, Senator Taba.
Yes.
Yeah, Senator Taba, very good evening. NTA, very good evening. God bless Nigeria.
Thank you.
This is the third time, Senator Taba, you're having me. You got me during the local content, and you got me during the CIA development of the host communities. I would like to start by saying God bless those distinguished Nigerians that spare their time to honor the fallen heroes by contributing the best ideas and the way forward for securing the nation. Now, having said that, the sacrifice for building Nigeria shouldn't be also sacrificed to call to die. The point is clear. There should be a mechanism in place to ensure that the welfare of the Nigerian armed forces is adequately captured. Captured in the sense of, is it material, is it weapon, or is it armory, or is it in terms of the moral, or is it in terms of the payment of their entitlements and their salary. Now the point is clear. Look at the situation now. Nigerian armed forces are known to be the best in the world because of the fact of that. The point is clear that we have the greatest discipline in place. Our armed forces are well disciplined. But today, we are having a situation whereby the armed forces are protesting. So many soldiers are also resigning. I was reading in the newspaper, I was seeing that military officers and men resigning prematurely. These are people that came out to sacrifice to protect the fatherland. What is the problem? Now, the lawyer is here. He has been mentioning something. What is
presenting the budget of the Ministry of
the contribution of the army? What is the problem?
Alongside agencies under its supervision, Minister of Information and National Orientation, Mohammed Idris, highlighted the 2024 budget performance.
Also in the year of reforms. Reforms have been happening since last year, and most of those reforms we believe will be consolidated in 2025. Now, if that is going to be achieved, it is important that Nigerians, and especially our representatives here, pay attention to what happens in this sector. It is our job to tell Nigerians what every ministry, what every agency is doing. Of course, they have the responsibility to also, dance to their own music, but it is our job generally to put that forward. I will take you through some of the things that we have done last year. First, that we instituted, or rather we continued, not instituted, we continued what we call the regular ministerial press briefings and conferences. In the course of the preceding year, about 25 ministers have appeared at the National Press Center to tell Nigerians about what they do. Some of them, of course, have been doing that at their various ministries and offices and elsewhere. But we find it necessary that all of them come to the National Press Center to tell Nigerians, because this is the biggest press center that we have in this country. We invite every minister, every head of agency to come with his minister to come and tell Nigerians what he or she is doing, so that Nigerians can get to know what happens in his own ministry. So we have, so far taken about 25 of these ministers, and we are also going to continue this January. Very soon we are going to have the ministers of petroleum, ministers.
Have you gotten the equipment that you need to have?
All right, Dr. Bukar.
Please, please, and please.
Thank
national sacrifice shouldn't be national call to death, or national sacrifice shouldn't be called for abrupt resignation. Why are they resigning? Why are they running away from the book? Why are they not given the equipment? Who is responsible for that?
All right, Dr. Bukar, thanks. Thank you so much. I'm afraid we'll have to. Yes, thank you so much. Others are also on the line trying to come on, and you know, of course, that the chairman, the national chairman of the Legion, was still answering the first question when we took in your call. So now we have to put that together. Well, General Jibril, over to you. That, as well as the issues that Dr. Bukar has also raised. You were going to conclude on the matter of the money that is collected.
Yes. I was saying that a lot of ignorance is about what do we do with the money. Nigerian Legion has not been under any financial provision since inception. No kobo is given to it by government through allocation as a budget. We live by this yearly donation that we get within 2 to 3 months. From 25th of October, every October when we launch the emblem, to 15 January. That is when well-spirited individuals donate whatever they wish. And Nigerian environment is not like other climes where they, with due respect to our citizens, they don't seem to appreciate much the contribution of the fallen heroes. So when it comes to even this donation, it's very few people that actually donate, and quite a number will pledge, and few of them will redeem the pledges. So it's not like whatever you hear. And since we are not operating under any budget, the little money we get, it's overhead. That's what we use to run the business of the Legion throughout the year. And we have 36 states and FCT, that's 37 chapters. And we are not supporting them because we are not even supported too. It is only this little amount of money. This is the first time this year that Mr. President, Commander-in-Chief, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, unprecedentedly gave 500 million naira to the Legion. It's like the world is going to collapse because of joy. 500. Our highest collection has never gone beyond 70 million every year. And we have the overhead cost and the cost of production of this emblem. We cannot even afford it. We have to go into contract and sign an MOU where he takes a percentage, we take a percentage. So whatever you see that is given to us is not almost the sharing formula I don't want to mention. You'll be amazed. And that's what we made. So there is, if the Legion is well funded, it's not only that we'll be able to administer the Legion effectively, we'll be able to also include all the state in our budgetary requirement. We'll also be able to support most of the small associations, the various associations. We have over 22 of them. So if we don't have, how do we support them? So the general belief is that the Legion has and is not extending it to other these people, other beneficiaries like
I'm sure there will be so many other issues which you would have to respond to. And next caller is Anthony, who's calling in from Ogun State. Hello, Anthony. Go ahead. Yes, Anthony, go ahead.
Hello.
Hello, go ahead, please.
Hello. Good evening.
Yes, good evening. Go on. Go on. All right. Drop that call we've lost. We lost the call. So, well, other callers will still be coming in. But again, the same issues. Generally, you'd find these are issues that many Nigerians raise all the time. And it so happens because they've been witness to a number of, in fact, many legionnaires, some of those veterans, they've been witness to them living a life in abject poverty and penury. Okay, now we have Abubakar from Gombe on the line. Abubakar from Gombe, go ahead.
Hello?
Yes, go ahead.
Abdullah.
Yes, good evening.
Good evening.
Good evening, go on, please.
Good evening, how are you? Actually, I wanted to comment my Nasara and the general for speaking well on this issue of national issues. You see, for the fallen heroes, actually they have tried because they are the people that have intensively used in getting this country to be unified and one. We really commend them. Very, very commendable issue. Because all the fallen heroes and the retired generals, the retired soldiers that fought for the Civil War, right from Second World War today, actually they have contributed immensely to the unification of this country, to keep Nigeria one. Mr. Mainasara, actually I commend what he is saying. For us as individuals to contribute our own quota for the unification of this country, I think each and every member or Nigerian has a role to play so that this issue of insecurity and other problems that are developing, that are bringing a lot of issues to Nigeria has to be resolved. It is our national, all of us have to put heads together. Everybody has a way of contributing its own quota for the development. With this development, actually I commend this topic. I just caught you on the way because I joined you late, but by God's grace, next time, when the program is going to be done, I'll start right from the first day. So General Barrister Mainasara, I really commend. I heard all you have said. Honestly, it's commendable. It's very good. And for the legends, actually, we salute them. We are still encouraging them. As the General said, all of us have to put heads together to appreciate what they have done for the unification of this country. So by giving little token, it will go a long way in appreciating what they are doing. Thank you very much.
Right, thank you. Okay. Right. Just before that caller, that said that what's visible to a lot of people is the abject poverty in which you find a lot of the veterans in. And so that paints a picture of inadequate care. And so when others say it's not a good example for those who are still in service, and how committed can they be? Well, you find that this is the narrative that you find all the way. Well, as the General said, a lot of it might be due to misinformation or poor communication, but that is what the public sees. But it goes beyond even people in, ex-military men. It goes to people who have served the country in different positions generally. You still hear of pensioners who spend days and days on queues waiting to get entitlements either from states or from the federal government. You still have those who have retired, even under the schemes that has been so hailed, particularly the contributory pension scheme, where a lot of those who are underneath it are regretting that they're part of it because nothing changes. So it's a general thing in society that a lot of people believe that at the end of sacrifice to the nation, they have been left behind. Let's take this call from Patrick from Lagos, and then we'll come to that issue. Patrick from Lagos, go ahead. Hello, Patrick.
Yeah, I'm on the line.
Yes, go ahead.
Thank you very much for what you. Yeah, I'm speaking. Hello, I'm still on the line. I want to thank you for the setup. I want to really commend the man in the middle. In the middle, yeah.
Looks like we lost that call as well. A number of dropped calls tonight. Perhaps the system, the communication links would improve as we go on. But again, it tells of the general mood of people. And as I said, these are the things some Nigerians, some citizens used to define the level of commitment and sacrifice, and say, look, what's going to happen? At the end of all my sacrifice, I go home with either a pittance, I'm not well looked after, and the society generally ignores, and which is another thing that's been blamed for the level of corruption in the country.
Yes.
Because people step out and they say the best thing to do is to save for the rainy day, and when they say that, they don't mean it in the way it's taken. It means feather your nest, because at the end of it, nobody's going to look your way.
Well, before I get into that, let me remember the second leg of the general's question. I think Dr. Bukar from Maiduguri asked whether there is
for value orientation.
We need to have value reorientation for our people so that whatever we set out to do as a nation can be achieved, no matter which the roads that we build, no matter the hospitals that we build, no matter whatever the engagement that we do. If this value reorientation is not in the front burner, it will not see the light of the day. And so we thank Mr. President for seeing that and for also ensuring that this ministry takes a center stage.
Members of the committee commended the giant strides made by agencies under the Ministry of Information, particularly the NTA, committing them to increase their revenue generation.
It's really, really worrisome that an average young Nigerian today believes that the quick way to make money is through rituals, or should I say Yahoo Yahoo. So it's also up to your ministry to see how you can devise a means to reorientate our people on the values of living, on the values of humanity, the values of self-worth, and a whole lot. Let me say this. I was searching now on how much certain African countries spend on orientating their people, how to disseminate information, and again, build a national image. Let's take South Africa, for example. South Africa's budget in 2024 for a ministry similar
to be able to give you land for the development of houses for the legionnaires, to be able to give you shops when you establish new markets, so that allocations can be given for them to start a new leap of life, and so many other aspects of investment can be think of. But the fundamental thing before I pause is that there should be review of the pension scheme. A pensioner's rights should come to him immediately when he retires, not until when he is close to his grave. There should be a system whereby, including the general public servants, civil servants, and the distant, there shouldn't be any reason why somebody's benefits should be delayed for unnecessary decades. Yes, you are retiring, you should get your entitlements, you should channel it into your desirable investment area of interest.
Okay. Right, we have Ahmed on the line from Abuja. Hello? Hello, Ahmed? Hello?
Yeah, good evening, Sir Toba.
Yes, go ahead, please.
How are you this evening? Yeah, right. It's nice talking with you because I just discovered that you said in nation building, the function or the contribution of the citizen, it's very paramount. Looking at the situation of Nigeria now, that we're trying to have a lot of reforms, a lot of changes from the left-hand driving of a vehicle or from the right-hand driving of the vehicle to the left hand of the vehicle as it is Africanized, that we are trying to propel and draw the drum of clarion call for everybody to abide by the rule and regulation that governs the citizens of a country, that everybody should arms be on deck to make sure that you know what is wrong and you know what is right. President Ahmed Tinubu did not say he was going to fight corruption, but he said he's going to discourage corruption. Look at the scenario in Nigeria now. You will discover that the corruption is fighting itself. He is not the longer one fighting the corruption again. How? Let me tell you. When there was this fuel subsidy removal, fuel skyrocketed to 1,200 and is coming back to 960 something, and which I will believe that is still going down lower than that. The citizens that have been hoarding fuel in those days, that have been doing dual fuel, bunkering and every other thing, now at this price, let them do it. Have you seen queue in Nigerian filling station during the Christmas? It has never happened in the history of Nigeria. There must be either one hiccup or the other, either in your village or in my village. Everybody bought fuel according to how you are supposed to buy in your own geopolitical region, depending on the transportation that took in there. One, we have been having a lot of challenges in competition of facilities that we are using now. Let's take, for example, telephone. You know how it started. That one is a bygone. Petroleum now that they are dealing with, fighting corruption, removing the subsidy, it is not for me and you alone. It is for the national benefit that when they are talking of this tax reform, they said it, that everybody is going to benefit what is going to be distributed according to how you're earning or whatever your consumption of the earning comes. It's okay. If you know how to drink Fanta, please take 10. I will take only 2 bottles of beer. Ask the free lie, you know. But the truth about it is that we have to really go deep into all these things we are looking onto, that we want to do the reform. What are the benefits, the merit and the demerit? Then, but now, the citizen now, where I am coming to the citizen now is, we should be able to fish out all the bad eggs among us, not minding the threat they are giving to you. Just make sure you know this man. There's what we call KYC, know your customer, in business. But in your environment, they say know your neighbor as you know yourself. Try to know your neighbor. Security-wise, we that are curbing the security are the one living within the insecurities. Please, Serious Toba, today is not a day of rituals. We are just trying to contribute how the citizens can obey or can contribute to the national development. The citizens are the one holding the power of their citizenry. Use your citizenry as good as possible, and you get the result of what you want. Thank you very much, Cyril Stoba. May the Almighty God continue to bless your program. Thank you, Tuesday Live. I love to have spoken for the first time in this program. Thank you very much, Nigeria. I bless you all. Thank you.
Right. Thank you very much. From Abuja. Yes. Back to the studio. We just have a short time left on this program. And so, Dr. Eze, again, you find that by the time they get to being called veterans and the aging process is set in, that's when they have to deal with a lot of health challenges. Some of them, the result of what they have done. And there are those who think about who will, of course, suffer from what you call
traumatic
trauma.
stress.
Yes. And so how do you begin to cater for the health of those? Some would have lost limbs, and some, well, at a point in time, just the general, challenges of aging in society.
Very good. In the last Veterans Affair meetings last year, in Abuja, particularly in Army War College, we actually came on board devising means where we shall develop models, adopting models, which could reflect the models practiced in UK, America, and Australia. Wherefore, they practice what we call the integrated healthcare models in the UK. And in America, they actually practice what we usually call the telehealth and digital tools. And in Australia, they practice what we call the community-based health. I will explain it in a jiffy. So whilst these are protectors of sovereignty are in service, we would introduce what we call the general health and wellness program, where they would understand their body in function, and body in disease, so that they would take charge of their health themselves, understanding the composite of the body. We also discussed that they should be armed, understanding the first aid and emergency response techniques, because most of the things that they do tend to be more of physical engagement. So once they know how to take care of themselves in times of emergency, take care of another, it would also help them when they age. We also talked about what we call the preventive care, making them to understand that no matter what, there would be a time where there will be decrease in function of these organs as we age. So there are certain things that should not be done, substance abuse, etc. We talked also about the trauma care, where we recognize that they pass through a lot of trauma on the course of service, and that cannot be taken away. On the battlefields, it's usually very obvious that an officer leaves his home or a soldier leaves his home, then goes there with whom he had gone to the battlefield with. He has seen him being shot, and it's not going to remain the same. Even by the time he shoots someone, one would reason that, yeah, it's peculiar to the armed forces, but he's still human. He's going to pass through trauma. The occasions where he will remember this, and he will continue to, have flashbacks, quiver, shiver, and a whole lot. So what we are trying to do is also making them to understand the management of their mental health. Mental health issues like the PTSD, the post-traumatic stress disorder, anxiety, depression, and also understanding the global health preparedness. And whilst they're in service, understanding the workplace health is very important in what we call the occupational health and safety, which the president has, ensured that it's now a national compulsory program. Having said that, we're also putting in place what we call the geriatric care, where after they would have done this, they are being integrated into society, then we shall be there for them. ensuring that they are cared for. Then also ensuring the home care services where they could be visited one-on-one, not just in group at all times, so that we can understand their peculiarities, address it headlong, and also there's what we also call the caregivers training. We're planning to engage a lot of individuals, well-meaning Nigerians, because fortunately everybody in Nigeria offered biology. So part of the citizens' contribution would be making yourself available to expertise in healthcare. That could also take care of the veterans. So we shall engage them, we shall empower them, enhance them, and enable them to take care of these veterans, whilst we remind the veterans of what we had taught them whilst they were in service. So with this, I will believe that as they age, their physiological, mental health will be affected, but we are instituting what we call the mental, psychological, social, and behavioral medicine or health that will take care of them holistically, enabling them to be at the forefront of taking care of themselves.
Well, we just have a few more minutes to go. So at this point, General Abdul Malik Jibril, I'd like you to give your closing comments on the general aspect of sacrifice to the nation, particularly from your background.
Thank you very much. Before I answer, I give that contribution, I want to also say one or two things in respect of the re-engagement program. The Nigerian military is already implementing the re-engagement system. All those who have retired and you believe that you still have something to offer even after retirement, there's a program, you apply, you fill in the form, and they will assess you, and then they place you on the contract basis. So they are absorbing, that is across the three services. Okay. That's that. Then the issue of investment, my colleague Enesara alluded to, the issue of Legion investing. The Nigerian Legion Act has provided enormous responsibility, opportunities to invest in mass housing, hospitality, educational institutions, hospital, agricultural project. All those are provided. As a matter of fact, we can even establish a bank. The act that established the Nigerian Legion is an act of National Assembly, CAP 119, Laws of the Federation 2004, afford all these opportunities. Good. But we need the take-off grant, because for the 60 years we existed, we never had the opportunity to acquire or access land, which we could by now be able to provide as collateral and then raise a loan so that you can now start to expand on such investment. So this is what I am pushing, and through the Minister of Defense, to key into this idea of including the Nigerian Legion in the budget, or let the federal government give us a take-off grant that we're able to now invest in some of these opportunities, and then from there we have a base. Okay. We don't need to go cap in hand every year. Then coming back to the contribution of the general public or the citizens, every citizen has his own contribution to make in nation building. And in whatever capacity, no matter even the lowest person on the street that is employed as a cleaner, without him making such contribution, the street would not be good to look at. Right. So it means the contribution in national building is actually depends on how you look at it. Every individual, every citizen has a role to play. And it is the collection of this responsibility, putting hand on deck, that will make Nigeria great. And that's why we keep on saying our strengths rest on our diversity, and that diversity also reflects in our individual contribution toward the center, towards making a greater country.
Well, Dr. Mainasara Kugoma, just 2 minutes we have left on this.
Yes, okay. The first 1 minute is advice to the legionnaires. Tomorrow, in all your speeches at the national level and all the state levels, make appeals for the respective governments at all levels to give you lands for mass housing and for agricultural development. That is one. Secondly, regarding the issue of legionnaires, especially those at the lower strata, including the civil servants and the public servants, I would like the government to critically look at Section 16 of the Constitution that talks about economic policies. Economic policies in such a way that two things I want the government to do. The first one is that all those type of benefits the political class and the generals in the army are enjoying, commensurate and appropriate of that should be accorded to all categories of retirees, whether in the armed forces or in the civilian palace. And apart from that too, I would like to call for review of the pension scheme. Pension entitlements should be given to people not later than 1 month after retirement, so that at least the 30 years experience they have in the service will be enough for them to determine how they should invest the legacies of their own sweat. Thank you.
All right. Thank you so much. And Dr. Eze, one last word from you.
Very good. So I suggest, and I would always say, that the armed forces, they are living testament to sacrifice, but it is left for everyone as a call to action that we also have roles to play in nation building, and these roles can be underscored by our sense of care, selflessness, and dedication. By the time everyone will play his role, you realize that the nation is built, corruption is nullified, and then we'll have reduction in inequalities, and there will be further harnessed to equities, both in the armed forces and everywhere. Thank you.
And it is on that note we must then leave this conversation and say thank you so much, gentlemen, our guests on tonight's program. Thank you so much. General Abdul Malik Jibril, National Chairman of the Nigerian Legion, Dr. Mainasara Umar Kogo, lawyer, economist, and public affairs commentator. Always a pleasure having you here. And Dr. Chemele Eze, Doctor of Medicine and Global Healthcare Ambassador, Advocate at WHO Universal Health Coverage. Thank you, gentlemen. And also thanks to those who also called in with their suggestions. Next week, we'll be back with NTA Tuesday Live. I'm Cyril Stover. Bye for now.
The Microbian Empire was believed to have operated at its peak during the first millennium BC. The kingdom was located south of present-day Libya, along the Atlantic coastline, which is an area currently known as Somalia. The Microbians as a people were also believed to have lived